Italian folk music has a deep and complex history. National unification came quite late to the Italian peninsula, so its many hundreds of separate cultures remained unhomogenized until quite recently compared to many other European countries. Moreover, Italian folk music reflects Italy's geographic position at the south of Europe and in the center of the Mediterranean Sea. Arabic, African, Celtic, Persian, and Slavic influences are readily apparent in the musical styles of the Italian regions. Italy's rough geography and the historic dominance of small city-states has allowed quite diverse musical styles to coexist in close proximity. Today, Italy's folk music is often divided into several spheres of geographic influence, a classification system proposed by Alan Lomax in 1956 and often repeated since. The Celtic and Slavic influences on the group and open-voice choral works of the north contrast with the Arabic, Greek, and African-influenced strident monody of the south. In central Italy these influences combine, while indigenous traditions like narrative and ballad singing remain. The music of the island of Sardinia is distinct from that of the rest of Italy, and is best known for the polyphonic chanting of the tenors. Italian folk revival. The modern understanding of Italian folk music has its roots in the growth of ethnomusicology in the 1940s and 1950s and in the resurgence of regionalism in Italy at the time. The Centro Nazionale di Studi di Musica Popolare, now part of the Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia, was started in 1948 to study and archive the various musical styles throughout Italy. In the 1950s, a number of important field recordings were conducted by American Alan Lomax and Italians Diego Carpitella, Franco Coggiola, Roberto Ladi among others. Toward the end of the decade, a special effort was made to capture the folk traditions of the Meridian, including an important study by Carpitella and anthropologist Ernesto De Martino of the Tarantella. The early 1960s saw the rise of social and political popular music, including a vast number of releases by the I Dischi del Sol label. Several important groups had their birth around the same time, including Canticro Nasce in 1958 and the Nuovo Canzoniere Italiano in 1962. The NCI was an assemblage of musicians and composers including Giovanni Marini that made its first major public appearance at the 1964 Spoleto Festival dei Mondi and generated a large number of records and concerts. The Italian folk revival was accelerating by 1966. When the Istituto Ernesto De Martino was founded by Gianni Bosio in Milan to document Italian oral culture and traditional music. With the emergence of the Nuova Compagnia di Canto Popolare in 1970, the notion of a musical group organized to promote the music of a particular region was clearly gaining momentum. Many of the best-known Italian folk revival bands got their start in the following decade, including La Lionetta, Tre Martelli, La Ciapa Russa, Renilia, Calacanto, and Baraban. Northern and Central Italy. The northern regions of Italy historically exhibited Celtic and Slavic influences in their cultures. Roots revivalists have revived traditional songs, though, from Piedmont, Lombardy and Veneto. The Genoese Docks are the home of Trallallero, a polyphonic vocal style with 5 voices, one of which imitates a guitar. It arose in the 1920s and includes modern groups like La Squadra, Compagnia del Trallallero and Laura Parodi. The highly urban provinces of northern and central Italy are also known for the medieval sung poetry Ottava Rima, especially in Tuscany, Lazio and Abruzzo. Ottava Rima is performed by the poeti contadini who use the poems of Homer or Dante, as well as more modern lyrics which address political or social issues. It is often completely improvised, and sometimes competitive in nature. Tuscan folk poetry is closer in form and style to high culture poetry than is typical elsewhere in Italy. The soltrello dance is also popular throughout the region. Canzoniere del Lazio is one of the biggest names from central Italy during the 1970s roots revival. With socially aware lyrics, this new wave of Italian roots revivalists often played entirely acoustic songs with influences from jazz and others. More modern musicians in the same field include Lucilla Galeazzi, La Piazza and La Messina. Southern Italy. A folk dance called the tarantella is still sometimes performed. It was performed to cure the bite of Lycosa tarantula, usually with female victims dancing until exhaustion. Performers used varying rhythms according to the exact kind of spider. Antonio Infantino has explored the percussion-based tarantolati healing rituals since 1975, when he formed the group Tarantolati di Tricarico. Puglia is also home to brass bands like Bandicita Ruvo di Puglia. This tradition has led to collaborations with jazz musicians like Matteo Salvatore, Bautista Lina, Eugenio Colombo and Enrico Rava. Another culturally unique musical tradition in southern Italy is the zampogna, a form of bagpipe originally played by the shepherd class and is still prevalent in the mountainous regions of southern Italy and Sicily. The zampogna, in addition to secular uses associated with the Annunciation of Christ in it, is still not uncommon to see a zampogna player at a nativity scene. During the Christmas season, the zampogna is most likely a direct descendant of the Greek aulis. Ethnic Greeks. The ethnic Greeks living in Salentia and Calabria have their own distinct dialects. They have lived in the area for an undetermined amount of time, possibly as early as ancient Greece or as late as the Middle Ages. The community has been largely assimilated by the Italian nation, but there remain speakers of the dialects and other aspects of the culture. There was a roots revival in the 1970s in this area, paralleling similar developments across continental Europe, including Brittany and Catalonia. Folk musical traditions in the area include a religious piece, Passionatu Christu, which recounts the Passion of Christ. The Passion is performed by street accordionists with two singers. An example of a pizzica song from Salentia region is Kali Nifta. The lyrics were written in Greco by Vito Domenico Palumbo. Sicily. Sicily is home to a great variety of religious music, including a cappella devotional songs from Montedoro and many brass bands like Banda Ionica, who play songs from a diverse repertoire. Harvest songs and work songs are also indigenous to the agricultural island, known as Italy's granary. Franco Battiato, Fratelli Mancuso, Luciano Maio, Taberna Milensis and Ciccio Busacca are among the most popular musicians from Sicily. Busacca has worked with Dario Fo, like many Italian musicians, but is perhaps best known for his setting the poems of Ignazio Bartita, a Sicilian-language poet. Fratelli Mancuso have fused traditional Sicilian peasant songs, melodic chants and other indigenous forms to create a uniquely Sicilian modern song style. Sardinia. Probably the most culturally distinct of all the nations in Italy, Sardinia is a Mediterranean island known for the canto a tenor polyphonic chant, sacred songs called gozos, and lornedis, a woodwind instrument similar to the Greek aulis. Lornedis are used to play a complex style of music that has achieved some international attention, especially Diana G. Barranca, Antonio Lara, Luigi Lionefisio Melis. Barranca, like many of the most famous lornetta musicians, is from Samatzai and Cagliari, an ancient instrument, dating back to at least the 8th century BC. Lornettas are still played during religious ceremonies and dances. Distinctively, they are played using extensive variations on a few melodic phrases, and a single song can last over an hour. The ottava, or 8-line stanza, is a common lyrical form in Sardinia, one which allows the performer a certain amount of improvisation and is not unlike the stornello of south-central mainland Italy. Rural polyphonic chanting of the tenors is sung with 4 vocal parts. They are basso, mesa boffa, contra and boffa. The most popular group is tenors di Bitti. In November 2005, the canto tenor vocal style of the Sardinian pastoral culture was proclaimed a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO. Sacred gozos, or sacred songs, can be heard during religious celebrations, sung by choruses like Su Concordu, Isu Rosariu. Other influential Sardinian musicians include Tota Cesa, Maria Carta, Mauro Palmas, Elena Leda and Suon Officina, Cordis A. Canas, Paolo Fresu, Gesuino Diana, Tazenda, Marissa Sagna. List of Italian folk songs by region. Friuli, Quel Mazzarlin di Fiori, Lombardy, La Madonnina, Dormi, Dormi, Bel Bambine, Piedmont, Piedmontesina Bella, Veneto, the Carnival of Venice, Emilia-Romagna, Romagna Mia, Tuscany, Firenze Sogna, Latium, Arrivederci Roma, Chitarra Romana, La Romanina, Abruzzo, Reginella Campagnola, Campagna, Com facit mamata, Disatoncello vuie, Funiculi, Funicula, O Marinariello, O Mari, O Sol mio, O Cerdita Inamurato, Tornea Sorrenta, Calabria, Calabrazella mia, Richnella, Venia, Sicily, Siuri Siuri, Si Maritau Rosa, Vitina Croza.